We're starting off high.
We can get
I think
two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot.
There was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
no, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a Foolproof page.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live on Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
Trust human to raise back wolves.
before I would trust a pack of humans to raise a wolf.
Right. I hear you. We a step behind. Yo, what up, fools? Welcome to another edition of Two Fools Agree. As always, I'm your host, Michael Reggie, here with my main man, Clifford Jordan Jennings.
That would be me.
Sorry about that. I clicked over the scene before I unmuted. Usually I unmute at the other scene. I just, shit's a little backward. We're fine.
I was waiting.
Hey, we're fine here. We're all fine here now. How are you?
I'm all right. I was waiting for that drop.
It can't be perfect every time. At least I know we're unmuted. That's a good start to the show.
Listen.
Oh, man, it's been a week.
Has it?
Dude. I've had so many needles in my arms this week, I don't know where to begin.
Oh, shit. What kind of needles?
Well, I got blood work done early in the week. No, that was last week. I gave blood on Friday, and then not last night, the night before, I got the new shit.
Okay.
So,
all right.
But yeah, no, I've been stuck. Oh, and I got my COVID booster shot. So
what kind of tattoo shop you go to?
Not at the same place.
Motherfuckers had to get blood work. COVID boosters.
The blood work was for other safety precautions. Man, yeah. So it's been a week, and then work went to shit the last 2 days, and not anything that was unexpected, just like shit that I thought I could stall on until after Thanksgiving.
That's all right. You get paid for it. I don't feel sorry for you.
You're right. I can't. I'm not gonna.
You're
right. Oh man, what about you?
Cry for you, motherfucker.
No love. All right. It's cool. It's cool.
Same old shit. I feel like I could close my eyes.
Close your eyes.
And be back here and not know the difference between weeks.
I hear you. They just all bleed together.
They do, man.
Yeah.
Shit's crazy.
Well, I mean, monotonous at least is predictable, and
I'm not mad. I'm not complaining, at least.
Yeah.
But shit, I mean, I don't know. Holiday weekend's coming up. Maybe that's a break in the monotony.
Yeah. You got any plans?
Hell no.
No. Family get together? Oh, come on. Your family's got to get together still for Thanksgiving. You gonna hit up a couple of different Thanksgivings? I feel like that's your MO.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
This is the first one that I'm not cooking for like 7 people. So.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, man. I was used to cooking for the fam, cooking for her mom, cooking for my mom, cooking for my little brother, and now it's me and Andrew. So maybe I'll cook like half a breast.
Cornish hen for the Thanksgiving.
He doesn't even like the shit I like, so I'll make myself a little bit of stuffing and a little bit of mashed potatoes, but he'll eat some turkey, but that's about it. I'll have to make some mac and cheese or something for him, some blue box.
Not the blue box, not for Thanksgiving.
Well, you gotta doctor up. Well, first of all, he's 6. That's all he likes.
Right.
That's not true. He does love James's down the street, so he loves B&K's mac and cheese. I don't know if I got those kind of skills in me. But
the blue box. You
blue box.
Go with the Kraft mac and cheese.
I mean, the 6-year-olds love it.
The Buzz Lightyear
with dinosaurs
and.
Dude, you got any inadvertent thoughts to get us going?
I do have an inadvertent.
Okay.
I'm convinced that the same people who make the gun safety commercials are behind a burglary ring across the nation.
So wait, there are gun safety commercials?
You never seen them?
No.
It's crazy too. Like they say just ignorant shit like never keep your guns and your ammo in the same area. Keep them locked in a, secure, 10 feet away from you in a different, it's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do if somebody breaks in your house?
Kind of missing the point, huh?
Right. Like, what the fuck is the point of having a gun? Like, you must think this is an antique musket.
Right. And in that case, you got to spend the time, priming it, put the powder in.
So I got to, not only do I get being very safe with your firearms, but not only do I have to lock my gun, and not have to, but I'm being suggested to, lock my gun up with the ammo separate, and then pray somebody doesn't kick in the door, because then I have to go... Boop, 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 boop. And then go grab the gun and load it, mind you. Not even a clip. Load it. And then... it's like, what the fuck? Like, you have to be setting people up. Like, I bet you get likes on their, Facebook pages, and those are the people they hit. Because they're like, I know they are following our rules. Let's go.
And so they're doing the crime app in the background, like, well, this person liked the post.
Right. Like, I bet. I'm telling you.
Well, it's probably non-gun owners that are liking the post.
Right, it might be. It might be. It probably is, actually. Even more.
So even more. That's who we're going after.
I think it's R.I.P. Pop Smoke. I'm saying. I think it's the people behind the commercials that's doing all that.
That's who's doing all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's a realistic picture. Well, you brought up guns and gun safety. Do we have to at least hit on the Rittenhouse verdict? Are we surprised?
Oh, no, nobody's surprised about that shit.
No, not at all. I know that I got into a big debate with somebody. I don't know, probably what was that, a year ago? About it. And it was funny. It was a dude that I used to go to high school with who kind of came at me sideways about it. And then he and I went back and forth on the post. And it was like the first time I've ever engaged in something like that where it didn't turn into name calling. Like, we actually had a pretty good debate. And we both agreed to disagree, but we also kind of saw each other's point of view. Do you remember that, Derek or whatever?
I think you might have said something about that.
So, at the end of the day, personally, I think the dude was wrong. I think Rittenhouse was wrong. I think the kid was wrong. If that were something that were happening in his own neighborhood, I would feel different about it.
Right.
But he crossed state lines to go put... This comes back to... Here's my inadvertent thought. People need to mind the goddamn business.
That isn't even an inadvertent thought.
That's a daily thought.
That should be...
I wish you'd drink a whole big ass cup of mind your business.
It should be... That's what I'm saying. It should be a hardwired genetic code.
But it's not.
It's not anymore because of where we've come, because of people feeling comfortable.
Is that true, though? Because
it is.
You and I... No, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. I'm going to argue with you. We've talked about the Rose the Nosy Neighbor scenario, right?
Right.
That has existed long before our generation. And it's usually older folks that are in that Rose the Nosy Neighbor role.
Right, but that...
So how is that different? Tell me why it's different now when I got the older lady 2 doors down who knows everybody's shit in the neighborhood, including mine, and I don't even have shit going on other than the fact that I moved back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's that comfort level. It's that transition from... I think you could even... Yeah, I guess for white people, because that's what it comes down to. It comes down to white people, because you don't usually see a lot of black folks nosy, and when they are, they're nosy to themselves.
I think, all right, that's
like
fair.
They won't tell anybody else they're being nosy because they know they shouldn't be.
Right.
And there's a consequence for someone catching you nosy.
Yeah. No, I can see that. And I mean, I'm with you. Like, grew up in a neighborhood like this my whole life. And I was always taught, don't start no shit, won't be no shit.
Right.
You don't get involved, people for the most part leave you alone.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's where it gets to me saying it's a level of comfort, right? Because when you live in a country that constantly reminds you that motherfuckers don't care about you,
yeah,
you're a lot less likely to stick your nose in someone else's business, right? Because you can come up missing.
Right.
And this country doesn't care about you, so how long are they going to look?
Right.
But then when you got a white bitch that gets lost in the woods...
the whole fucking nation stops and tries to solve this crime.
Right.
You're right.
Well, first makes a crime.
Right.
And then tries to solve the alleged crime. You didn't even know she was dead. You were already talking about he didn't took her in the woods and killed her and all kinds of shit, and then you found the body.
Right.
Right? But when you're black in a situation like that, it's always, I can put myself in that business, but it may be the wrong person's business to
be
insert
putting myself into. Right.
But when you have a level of protection, you feel like I can do whatever I want to do.
Right. Well, when you know the system is geared for you.
Right. That's where the protection
you're willing to take more risks because...
When you have a level of protection, you can drive a 17-year-old boy armed with an illegal rifle across state lines to kill people, knowing that first and foremost, I as a parent won't even be tried.
Right.
And secondly, my son will get off for it.
Yep. No, I agree.
Because that's exactly what you did. You inserted yourself into someone else's business.
That's exactly what happened.
Regardless of how you
into
feel
a neighborhood that you had no ties to, no connection to. And again, I actually think I would feel different if it was his own neighborhood. Like if it was his own spot, too. I would feel different about it.
I mean, I would feel like that's unnecessary, but it's justified.
Right. I would definitely lean more towards acceptance, not agreement with that choice, but accepting that at that point.
Listen, at that point, that's your business.
Right.
Who am I to get involved in your business?
Exactly. And at that point, it's no longer mind your business because it is your business.
Right.
But that's the issue I have with this whole thing is that he had no fucking business being where he was, period. And so, it'll go to appeals and it'll go through all that shit. But, yeah. Not surprising by any means.
Nah.
All right, sorry to take us on that tangent, but
I mean,
we've had history of talking about that kind of stuff in the past, so I at least wanted to touch on it.
It is what it is. I've made my stance on it very firm,
Right,
very clear.
right. So what else we got, man? You got anything else from an inadvertent perspective?
I didn't really have an inadvertent thought, but I had a question.
Okay. What you got?
Because, of course, nope, I don't.
Just ask.
I don't.
Why not?
Because I don't want to talk about it.
All right.
Yeah, strike that from the record. Rewind that. Strike that.
Correction.
Strike that has been stricken from the record.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's it. That's it on the inadverts.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more. So I've been watching. Do you know the show You? I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Why is it that every other woman on a dating app brings up that show? Help me understand.
Because
Because I tell you what, I've been watching it. I'm about a season and a half in. I don't know if I want to date anymore ever again.
Why? Because you feel like you could be with a female you?
A female that would be like the dude in You. Like, stalkerish. It's funny because I had a conversation.
Are you a killer stalker or are you just a stalker?
Well, but that's the thing. You don't know until it's too late.
Don't give a bitch a key.
Right. No shit. I mean, I might leave the door unlocked once in a while, but I do that for you.
Yeah, but I ain't coming in your bedroom.
That's true.
Fuck.
That's true.
Listen.
No, that was just my other inadvertent thought this week. Was it is like the fourth time it's been brought up in just friendly chats.
I think it's a number of things.
All right, well,
to answer your
enlighten
question.
me.
I think one of them is just entertaining those thoughts, like watching shows like that.
Like you could do it.
No, not like you, but like you said, like if think about it, if you feel like you're worried about dating how a woman would feel.
True. No, and that I get. But then I'm even questioning like their sanity and being on one of these apps in the first place.
See, that's my thing though. You feel me? Yeah, that's my thing, and as crazy as it may sound, and you got to do the pause or the no homo, but I think like a woman when it comes to shit like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I could never meet someone off a dating app that wasn't just for like a fuck or something.
Because you don't know what you're getting into.
Right, like I don't know you, and that's not the best line of communication for us to get to know each other.
No, I agree. I think from my perspective, like, one, it's finding people to talk to outside of existing social circles. Like, for me, that was important.
Right.
And again, there's nothing serious or whatever going on, but it's the chatting aspect in terms of like, all right, if I think we vibe in terms of like, I ask the same, like you and I ask like a comparable number of questions of one another, like shit like that, then I'm willing to meet up. And you have to show me a little bit of consistency over, let's call it a 2 to 3 day period. And then like it's okay to meet up. But if you can't get to that point, nah, I'm cool. Thanks.
You see, it's crazy, right? It's crazy how the dating game has changed, right? Because now you have to have like Of course, you have even before you had to have like a pre-screening process.
Right.
Now it's like
here's my 10 questions. Your answers determine how I.
But now
how I react.
Your meetup is now a pre-date, right? It's a pre-date date because it's not a date.
I agree with you
there.
It's
It's a meetup to confirm if we're gonna go on a date,
right?
But it's still a date because you have to pay, right? So now you just got me for a date that you didn't treat as such, right? So I didn't, like, you're not as open as you would be on a date as you are on the meetup, right? So now it's that awkward, not a date.
Yeah. It's an interview.
Right, essentially, right? And you have to treat it as such. You can't overstep your bounds.
Right.
On a pre-date.
True.
Right?
True. I agree.
But then on a real date, you can understep your bounds.
Say more there.
So like on a real date, like, you know, like how you'll like try to be gentlemanly and you won't
chivalrous
like,
and
right, you
open
won't
the door.
Not even that. Like you won't go in for the kill, so to speak.
You're not making a move.
Right. And usually, and this is school for ladies as well, usually if a man doesn't make a move but the date went well, that's because they like you more.
I don't disagree with that. Right?
They don't want to do anything to put a bad taste in your mouth to try to, you know.
Yeah, to try to go, or to make a move and have it go poorly.
Right. But then what happens is when you don't do that, you get the, well, he didn't try anything. You know what I mean?
You get the reverse.
Like,
you get the
what
reverse.
The
like,
fuck?
what the fuck was I supposed to do?
And then that comes into my second reasoning, right?
But I think pause on that real quick, because I do think you can tell if there's a level of physical chemistry pretty quickly. And so I don't know that I agree with you completely on that. But
that doesn't
I know what
mean
you're
anything,
meaning.
Right? Because even if there's a level of physical chemistry, and I know that you're wanting and willing to do more, I don't.
I hear you. Now that I do agree with.
You know, because at that point when it's too early.
Yeah.
Like when I'm not
because
getting
the suspicion then becomes like, oh, you're doing this with more than just.
It's not even that, because to be honest, no, I'm not gonna say that. I don't care what you did before. Right? I don't care what your body count is. Are you clean and are you loyal? Are my questions, right?
Yeah, see, but loyalty is not a thing to me right now.
Clean and loyal would be if you had that high body count. I mean, you want loyalty from anybody, but
true.
When your body count is higher, right? I need to know how loyal you are in a situation. Or was that just you having fun, or was that like your traits, your attributes? Like, are you that kind of person that even in a relationship you would do something like that because that's just how you get down? But when it comes to moving too quick on a first date, even if I'm into you, it kind of makes me feel like I didn't get a chance to savor my food.
Okay, yeah.
Like, you didn't intrigue me. You didn't intrigue me enough to give me an appetite.
Right.
Because you tried to feed me too quick. Like, I didn't even get a chance to smell the food and be like, ooh, that smells good. I'm getting
down.
I'm getting hungry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get that smell and your stomach starts to growl.
You're not
and
salivating.
Then you start to anticipate your meal. But if someone gives you a plate before you even knew the food was being cooked, then you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not really hungry right now.
Right. Nah, I think that makes sense. I can get behind that.
And if I eat it, I'm probably not going to enjoy it the way I would
much if you built up the anticipation.
Right. So if I don't enjoy it, I have one of those things, and I'm trying to put this as non-vulgar as possible, but I have one of those things when everything's all said and done, you get that regret.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
so those buyer's remorse or
fucking done that. Why did I do it?
You're not supposed to do it. You do that anymore. You're not supposed to tell a guy you're going to kill him no more.
What is that for?
I gotta tiptoe through the tulips with these assholes.
That's
Boondock Saints.
Right. I don't know why. I was thinking the first thing that popped up, I was thinking Carlito's Way to
I can see that. I mean, it's kind of a similar vibe. It's another gangster just talking shit. That's also where he tells the I'll have a Coke then joke.
But yeah, no, I think, but yeah, that's where I think it comes. I don't even know how we got to that point. Oh, the first date shit. But the second is females are intrigued by that.
That's true. The other thing that you see everywhere is they're fascinated by like true crime.
They won't admit it, but they're intrigued.
Oh no, trust me, that's every other profile that's out there is big true crime documentary fan. I'm
right,
like,
but do you want to live it? You feel me?
Right.
Like, do you want to live it though? You want to?
I'm good.
That on TV. How about that? How about we stick to entertainment?
Right.
You do a better vetting process when it comes to these here dating apps. Where they make a reenactment about you.
No doubt. No shit.
How about that?
Oh, man. I think we started that with an inadvertent thought about you. So.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I think that's where that started.
Wrap that.
Taking it back.
Wrap that.
Oh, man.
Well, let's get into it then.
All right. So you wanted to talk about, you said you were just having a supernatural vibe this week.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that I was having a supernatural. Well, I guess it could have been, right? Because I said I don't know if it was like the colors changing.
Okay.
Like, I feel like that happened a little later than it usually happens.
And it happened fast because the temperature went from like 60s and 70s down to 30s kind of over the course of a night.
Right. So I think that maybe could be what it was, where it's like my biological clock is off to where I'm just now getting to Halloween.
Yeah. So fall and...
Right. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've always kind of dabbled.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Well, and funny enough, wasn't last night like a fucking lunar eclipse?
Was it? That could explain some things.
Yep, Friday's lunar eclipse. So yes, there was an eclipse on Thursday night, Friday morning for about 6 hours.
But would that increase or decrease
the level of like supernatural phenomena?
Now that I'm not going to, jump like that deep into that, but that they say the reason why people act crazy on a full moon is because of like the
Well, I heard it from an administrator and a teacher today that kids were out of their fucking mind.
Really? So that then you would think it would increase it then, huh?
Yeah. And they always talk about a full moon, and they said this was worse.
Wait. It was a solar eclipse or a lunar? Okay,
lunar.
A lunar eclipse, right? So yeah,
so it was last night into this morning.
Yeah, you would almost think that it would be. No.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Yeah, you would almost think that it would be the opposite, right? Because the sun's blocking the moon. So you would think it would stop like the whatever's that the regular full moon would give off, because
right.
It's like, no, this is the shield from that.
Well, it depends on what you believe. Like, if the light isn't getting to the moon, maybe the moon's power is more powerful in the darkness.
If the light isn't getting to the moon. I thought the moon is the reason we had light.
At night?
Right.
It's because it reflects the light, yeah. But the light is reflected from the sun.
So you're saying that you think The darkness.
The darkness is what causes it.
Okay.
That's why you always hear about the dark versus the light, man. Even when you take away, when the light of the moon isn't there, it's total darkness.
I saw one of those weed memes, you know, where they be high and they ask like the dumb question. And it said, if the sun gives the earth light, why doesn't the space light up? And I said, that's a good fucking question. That's a good fucking question. Right? Right.
Why doesn't the space light up?
Right. Like why like all the space lit up? Like why don't you ever see space lit if the sun provides us with all our light?
Because the atmosphere.
Science.
And when it's daylight, you don't see space because the sunlight is reflected off of our atmosphere.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
That's why when it's nighttime, we're blocking the light from our vantage point to space.
So maybe space is lit and we just never see it.
I mean, space is lit, dog.
I knew you was gonna give me some sort of fucking dead joke.
So what in particular around supernatural has been kind of top of mind?
So it's not even really.
I mean, we talking ghosts, we talking the occult.
So it's okay. So let me first start to explain why or how I got on my vibe, right? Like, so I told you from last week that I had found a couple new supernatural podcasts, right? And I told you like how they gave you the origins of
Obituary and.
Well, no, I don't really watch that one. That one was kind of weird, but. I said watch. I don't really listen to that one. That one's kind of weird, but what are the names of the other ones? The one I really like is I think it's called Urban Legends.
Okay.
It's with these black ghost hunters out of Atlanta.
See, that's something black folks don't usually do.
Right. And that's why I think I like it, because they funny as hell. Like, they funny as hell when they talk about the shit, but there's other ones that are like more like.
Are they serious into it, or are they like making fun of it? I'm just curious.
No, they're serious into it. Like they got a TV show on the Discovery Channel or something like that. Like they've been on TV like ghost hunting and shit, like in the abandoned hospitals and shit, and they have their own podcast on Discovery Plus or whatever. But I was watching that one led me down a rabbit hole, basically, with the point of me bringing it up. And it brought me to one that does it a little different. It's pretty interesting, right? Like, it'll go through known stories, and then it will have people call in and like do their
unknown
story.
Stories or unconfirmed or.
And there were a few of them that that kind of got me thinking, like, well, I'm gonna ask Mike about some of, and a lot of the reason why I wanted to have this be a topic, because I know how your mom was back in the day, right?
So, she still is, and I'm sure she's out there. So
right. So, and I know I've had certain experiences that I still kind of wonder how or what that went down, and wondered if you had any as well. But one of the podcasts that it kind of brought me down in nostalgia was, do you remember probably 5 or 6 years ago, it was a video or a picture that went out around the internet that was saying, have you ever seen this man in your dreams?
No, not off the top of my head.
So I remember seeing the video, right? And as soon as I saw the title of the podcast, I was like, oh, I'm sure they're talking about
this.
So the story was, it was a dude or a lady. It was a lady, I believe, who was going to a therapist, and she was saying how every night she always dreamed of the same man in her dreams, and he would usually ask her about like her deepest secrets, like almost like a therapist situation, and it would always weird her out. And she says sometimes he would show up and like it would be a dream where she was getting chased by somebody, and he would pop up and like show her the way out, or like wouldn't speak but would just point and like get her through, like almost like he was navigating her through her own dreams type shit.
Okay.
So the story was, and it's supposedly a true story, the story was the therapist after a couple of sessions said, well, draw me a picture of the man so I can, see if this is coming from like, someone you subconsciously knew or is around, that you just took the face into the dreams. So draws the picture, right? He doesn't recognize the dude, so he keeps it. I guess he just had it sitting on the desk. Another patient comes in, and he doesn't put up the paperwork, and the patient sees the picture and freaks out and says, where did you get that? And the therapist is like, came from a different patient, don't worry about it. And he was like, that's the dude that's been in my dreams. So it prompted the dude to release the picture online, and I guess the picture got thousands of responses of people all giving the same story of the dude being in their dreams. So they released the picture, and it was I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was like a video on World Star that gave you like a quick story about it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I looked up the image again, right? Because of course it's a podcast, so I can't hear or I can't see it.
Yeah.
And the dude was that's what confirmed it for me. The dude started explaining, and I was like, "Oh, that's the dude, right? That's the dude that they released the picture of back in the day." So go on to look up the picture.
It's you.
Right. Listen. But when I looked up the picture and they were explaining it, I had a quick, like there was a quick
flash of something, or
almost like Regrettish. Like, why did you open that? Like,
gotcha.
Like, because I'm not that kind of person that ever
like buys into shit like that, or
it's not that I don't buy into it, because I definitely believe in it. I just think that my relationship with whatever higher power is out there, with my inner strength, kind of makes it a turn off. Like, okay. I think, like, especially from the way that people describe, like, shit like that, like possessions, and I don't know, I guess I believe in them, I do believe in them, but I think it's the same way that people in the natural world will possess you. You know, that'll coerce you to do things that you shouldn't be doing, and eventually you're hooked, you're strung out.
Manipulation of something.
Right, yeah, and I think that beings, whatever they may be, that take on or that possess people, they look for vessels
that are susceptible to
right. And I don't think that I'm one of them.
Yeah. No, I got you there.
But when it was like an eerie feeling, right? Because, of course, I have a photographic memory, right? So more so than me thinking this is real, because what they started calling him was like the real live Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Like he can go into different people's dreams. And then they got even deeper, like, well, what if it is real, right? And he's astro projecting himself into those dreams.
Yeah.
Like he came up with the power to be able to insert himself into people's dreams. And that, it tripped me out, right? And I guess the reason why I got that regret was because I memorized like shit, like pictures and shit. I would do it to myself. You know what I mean? I would manifest that image in my dream myself.
Yeah.
And be all,
right,
weirded out by it.
And that happened.
Well, no, it doesn't.
All right. Well, that's good. It's like The Ring. It's the last thing you see.
It's almost right. It's almost to the point, right, where it's like my photographic memory is so good, I can't interpret that image into a person.
Gotcha.
All I can see in the dream is the picture of the face.
Picture. Gotcha.
But I can't interpret that into a person moving, talking, whatever. I can only see the face. But I've seen it, in my dream, I've seen it. But it's just like me looking at the image,
a picture,
as opposed to, and it's a real creepy face. But the whole vibe when they started talking like the astral projection shit, it got me thinking like, what if that supernatural shit isn't so supernatural?
Well, the definition of supernatural, and I looked it up just for this show.
Oh, really?
Is basically an occurrence that can't be explained by known science.
Well, see, that's what I'm.
But that goes back to what we've talked about so many times on this show
exactly
about.
What I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
We think we know so much about this universe, about this world, about this life, and we really don't.
Right. And I think we talked about it a little bit before. I don't know if it was the last podcast or the podcast before last. But I feel like us as human beings are capable of a lot more than what we do now.
Yeah, it's the whole limitless thing where we use 10% of our brain or whatever.
Right. I feel like and I may have even used the same terminology, but I feel like we've calloused ourselves with, technology in the way our lifestyle is currently.
And I think there's definitely truth to that. I think that we as a species have lost what used to be instinctual skills.
Right.
Right? Like the hunter-gatherer skills that we had as a species coming from apes or whatever the case was. Like animalistic tendencies, we've lost those in a lot of ways because we haven't had to use them over the course of hundreds of generations.
I think it's beyond.
And we've
animal,
lost some
though.
of that.
I think it's beyond animal. Cause
I don't disagree, but what I'm saying is that it's clear we've lost something along the way.
Right, that we had.
The belief is that we have made up for it in other forms of intelligence. My question is that really true?
No, because it's not our intelligence.
Right.
And you can tell with giving someone a crutch like technology or the internet, it's almost like when cell phones came out.
Yep.
And
now we don't remember any phone numbers.
Exactly. Before, you knew everybody's number by heart because you had to dial it on a telephone that you couldn't save a contact into. And now because we have the ability to save contacts, there's no point in us remembering those numbers anymore.
We don't need to memorize them anymore.
And I feel like that's how it
So
went.
instead we have 90s hip-hop lyrics. California love.
Well, I mean, that's different, though. Because I feel like you store music differently than you store information.
I think to earlier conversations about it's different. It's hitting different relationship diagrams in your brain in terms of you're combining, hey, this lyric or this melody and these lyrics go together. And you're feeling
something when you hear the song.
And by the way, my mom is out there. She said the show is Ghost Brothers.
Ghost Brothers. Oh,
on Discovery or whatever.
Yeah.
So she's on. She's on board. She knows what you're talking about.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. But oh yeah, because I was thinking like when thinking about that, like when they said that, I was thinking like because even the cavemen, right? They didn't have language,
right?
But they communicated, right?
Yeah.
And they said that they've even said like back in history, people they think that people used to be able to communicate via mind.
Yeah.
And we've all had that experience. Well, I don't know if we all have, but I feel like most people have had the experience with someone that they're so close to that they don't have to speak to. That you can just look at and you can really like hold a conversation with a motherfucker just off of looks.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was a form of a stronger ability that we had back when.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you can tap into the shit that we had available to you or available to us back then, you might be able to do some weird shit, like insert yourself into people's dreams. We may have inserted ourselves into someone else's dream subconsciously without even knowing it. Because I dream about people I have not thought about, seen, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Quite often.
People that you know or people you don't know?
People I know. Or used to know, or whatever the case may be, and
you and I have talked about that a little bit. Like I've had dreams about people that I haven't seen in 15 years,
right? And it's like, where the fuck did that come from?
And then run into them 2 days later,
right?
Like that's where when we get into the, is time linear or is it circular? Like I've done this before, and I'm coming up on this next event. Maybe it's supposed to play out differently this time, or maybe it's supposed to play out the same way. Like it's the. I guess it depends on how you believe. If you believe in reincarnation, in what form of reincarnation? Are you reincarnated into the same life and you get another shot? Or are you reincarnated as a different person, different being, whatever? If you believe kind of the Norse mythology around something like Ragnarok, time is completely cyclical. The world, Pharion devours the world. Ragnarok happens, and time resets. All to start the cycle over again.
Okay.
So if that's the nature of time, is that we're in a perpetual loop until we find a way to break it or break out of it, then the philosophy would be that you live the same life over and over again until you do something right or something better.
Right. I think that's a lot more. That's more than Norse.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that kind of believe in that.
Right.
But I think that concept of cyclical time, that's one of the first where I think that was kind of the principal mythology behind it. Like in a lot of it, it's time continues to move, the universe continues to move, you're born into a different being or into a different circumstance or a different animal or person.
Right. Now my thing with that, when I first asked, like, could it be, what was the word I said? Maybe supernatural is not so supernatural. I was just thinking to myself, like, the same way where we were talking about what's the word? I'm losing it. We were talking
like
about
telepathy or
no. We were talking about like a demon taking her or whatever.
Possession or
possession. Like the same way I think whatever that would be that would take possession of a person, like the vessel, like I said, has to be susceptible in order to be taken control of. Right. So
I mean that's a principle in like Gothic literature. Like when you think about the things like Jekyll and Hyde, things like Dracula, the end of the tale is that in order for that to affect you, you have to be willing.
Right.
And so to your point, susceptible or willing.
Right. Whether it be weak, whether it be controllable, whether it be willing, whatever the case may be, I don't think that you can just jump into a brick wall.
Right.
And I think some people's auras are built like that, where it's like, oh no, we can't get into that one.
Right.
That one's a lock.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's the same way with otherworldly, ghosts, things of that nature. I feel like you have to be susceptible to the energies in order to know that it's changed.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
So I think there's a lot of people that are numb, which are usually the ones that don't believe because you're not feeling
the
going
energy around you.
Right. Because that leads me into what, like, do you feel...
I honestly, can I interrupt you for just a second? I honestly feel like that's why you hear more of that kind of stuff from children.
Right, because
there are all sorts of
calloused yet.
Right. Like, I can point to a specific incident when I was younger at the house on Champion where I remember the dog barking and just barking and barking and barking. And he was down in the basement. It was Scrappy. Scrappy was down in the basement barking at something. And it was clear it was something. There was nothing there.
Right.
But his intensity and how he was reacting, there was.
Right.
And so there's been one like that, and there's one where, like, the chair rocking in the living room when there was no animal, no nothing anywhere.
Oh, I know that Champion house is haunted. I always used to say I used to get a vibe, especially walking past those pictures, man.
Yeah.
I hate a house with old pictures.
Mom, I know you're out there listening.
Listen, and I apologize if that's your great-grand or whatever. I hate a house with old pictures. And it doesn't matter, black or white.
Right.
Even I was at Aaron's house and there were some old pictures, his mom's house, and there were some old pictures up in this one room. And I was like, that freaks me the fuck out.
Well, I mean, Mexican culture, Day of the Dead, like, isn't that the whole thing? Is you have to keep an altar of your dead relatives to basically guide them back to this world?
Right.
Maybe there's something to be said for that. Maybe that is an anchor for when someone moves on that they can return and visit.
The pictures, keeping photos.
Yeah. And keeping the memory of that person alive. And so that memory is what draws them back from an energy or a vibe or a frequency perspective back to this is family. This is someone that I'm close enough to that gives me a strong enough connection to that world to come back to.
Now here's another.
That's the whole Coco, man. Coco teaches you a lot.
I love that movie, right? I love Coco's one of my favorites. I love it. I love that. But
remember me.
It also makes me wonder, right? Because this is like, so I've told a lot of people, and I might have talked about it on this podcast, that I feel like the house I currently live in is haunted.
Okay. Is it old enough to be haunted?
I don't know. You know what? I don't know. And I've never really looked up, like, to see if anybody died in there or anything like that. But there's definitely something in there, but it seems like it's real.
Just chill.
Right. Like, it's not anything I need to worry about.
I think that the majority, if there are, I'll call it non-corporeal beings that are still attached to this world.
What's non-corporeal?
Meaning they don't have a body. So
okay.
Spirit, ghost,
right.
However you want to describe it. My gut is, like, people, there's not a ton that are just full of malice and malintent. It would be comparable to...
I don't think it could be, right? Because if you think about it, like, think about all the slaves that died.
Yeah.
You would think that the whole South would
right.
be uninhabitable because of
True.
all the spirits that felt wronged back that were, like, if that was the case...
Maybe that's why the southern states are so poor. My mom is also asking, why are you freaked out by old pictures?
I think it's because I've always been very empathic. I've always been very empathic, and I feel like even if that person isn't here, like if they're gone, like actually gone, I still connect to a piece.
Okay.
And that's probably what makes me feel uncomfortable, like I don't know how to describe it, but what I will say is, like, when they talk about astral projection, I've always been able to see myself somewhere else.
I hear you on that.
Right? Like, it's hard to give an example of.
I can give you one, because I've actually experienced once myself.
Uh-huh.
I was young. I was probably, I don't know, somewhere between like 3 and 5. And I remember, like, laying in the bathtub, and I don't think it was a drowning type situation. I just remember laying there, and I remember my dad coming in and kind of snapping me out of it. But I could see myself laying in the tub.
Oh, you were like, okay.
So, like, to a point where I was above myself, probably 5 or 6 feet, looking down at myself in the tub.
So, see, it's not quite like that, right?
Well, I mean, it's different levels, right? Like, that's not necessarily astral projecting myself across the world.
Right.
But if it's to a point where I can see myself, I'm outside of my own body at that point.
Right. See, me, I'm more so thinking like I can see an image, or like say I'll see something on TV, and it's almost like my mind fills in the blanks. Like that, I can insert myself into that. So if I'm watching the Green Bay Packers play, I can insert myself into right here on the field, and my mind will make up the views from the different angles.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that is actual imagination, just, a different type of imagination, to how much of that is like, you ever see like the movie where it's like the guy fades away?
Yeah.
Where he's like fading into nothing, and it's like, well, damn, like, is that like the almost like the glitching in and out of astral projection, where it's like you're not 35% there, but if you could amplify this to 100, you would actually leave like where you were and be there.
Yeah.
And that sounds wild, right? But the concept in general of...
I mean, have you seen The Last Jedi? That's basically what they're talking about, and what they managed to do at some point.
Well, I haven't. I haven't. And wait, hold up. The Last Jedi, is that the one with the girl?
It's one of the 3 with the girl. Yeah, it's the middle one.
I didn't know they had 3 with the girl.
Yeah.
I think I saw the first one with the girl.
But again, it's something that pops up frequently in mythology, which makes you wonder. It's that whole where there's smoke, there's fire. Like,
right.
If it's something that pops up in mythology, in myth, in legend, over and over again, what's the root?
And you know what?
Why is that like the thing that is repeatable or repeated throughout storytelling?
And you know what? To go back to your mom's question of why old pictures bother me, is maybe because if I ever could have astral projected, there are certain things I wouldn't want to see to astral project myself into.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would definitely imagine time frames to be in that category.
Especially as a black man.
Even in the black pictures, it's like...
What show is it? No, it's College Humor. College Humor has a video series. I think it's... Is it College Humor? No, it's Cracked. And they do, like... Actually, it's funny because some of their segments are a lot like our show in terms of like random topic, and then they talk about like the weird shit that would happen.
Right.
One of them is talking about there's this girl who basically says, no, there's no period in time that I would like to go back to because as a female who with advanced knowledge of the future, they burn me at the stake. And like the whole point is that time travel is purely like a white man's fantasy. Right. Because we're the only ones that can do it safely.
Right. That makes sense.
A cisgendered white man's fantasy.
Listen,
It doesn't work out for anybody else.
If I could go back with a gun on me, and you gotta be sure you can bring me back.
Give me unlimited ammo or...
If this is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and that machine's gonna go somewhere else, I don't want to take it. Yeah, fuck that. But I don't know, like it's just it's a vibe thing. Cause it could be the nicest person in the world, you know what I mean? Yeah. But just the fact of seeing that old picture, something about it gives me an
uneasiness.
Right. And I don't even like to be in the room with them.
Except for when you pass out and break the coffee table.
Well, that was more Rorschach right there. That was more Rorschach, where that was me saying, "You're here with me. I'm not here with y'all. Y'all are here with me."
Oh man!
But what else would dull the senses other than alcohol?
I mean, I get that.
You know what? There was actually one episode where it was one of the people that called in and they were explaining about a haunting that happened in their house, and they were saying that the father developed a real bad drinking habit because that would be the only time that he wouldn't see the things that he saw.
The images. I mean, I think there's something to be said for that and we've talked about vibrancy or vibrations and frequencies a lot on the show, especially over the last 6 months.
Right.
I think there's something to be said for that, and I think that there is the potential of, I'll call it supernatural abilities, but having to be in the right headspace,
right,
wavelength, frequency in order to manifest.
Right.
Like,
I think all of it has an effect.
Empathy, telepathy. I don't know that I would go as far as like telekinesis in terms of being able to move things with your mind.
Right.
But the ability to see beyond yourself and the ability to communicate without body language, without sound, I think that those things are possible and are entirely possible with being able to tap a larger percentage of our natural abilities that,
right,
to your point, have been dulled.
I think
we don't focus on, we have honed our ability to, quote unquote, understand the physical world around us. We are not in touch with the metaphysical. We are not in touch with the spiritual. We are not in touch. And part of that is that it's the conditioning that's happened to us around it. Like, I mean, I'm looking at my son now and like, yeah, he can work a phone and video games and all that shit before he was 3. Is there, are we numb to it because that's not an area we focus on, or are we numb to it for other reasons?
So, I think that we're numb to it because of a lot of what we consume.
Okay.
Whether it be, I think anything man-made is fucking up your natural aura. Anything. Prescription pill, a Xanax, a vaccine, anything. I feel like all those things do well to block your actual you.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a reason why the powers that be would want to block that, right? Because if you had the ability that you were born with, so to speak, all of this wouldn't be necessary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't need to consume. I wouldn't need to buy. I wouldn't need to do any of that. I wouldn't need to be entertained, right?
Right.
Because I have the power
within myself to do those things.
I can take myself somewhere if I needed to. Yeah. So why would I need to watch your TV show or buy your shoes or whatever the case may be? But if you can control the wavelength that people think, then you can start manipulating the way they think to think they need those things to be happy.
I agree with that.
And I feel like that's stuff. Of course, we're so far in that there's no turning back for us. But it kind of makes a lot of sense as to why the white boy would get shot with the arrow trying to bring a Bible to the... You know, there are still places in this world that have not been touched by the white man, you know,
by modern,
right?
Yeah.
To colonize
Western
area.
Modern.
So it would be interesting to see what those people are capable of in their regular life. The only thing about it would be anything we put our hands on, we ruin. So I feel like more so than it would be experimentally viewing, it would be like
you'd need like a duck blind kind of situation, right, where you could watch without being seen.
Right.
That is, it's funny. That's actually a big principle in Star Trek. Like that's the prime directive is you do not interfere or make yourselves known to civilizations that haven't hit a certain point of technology.
Right, right.
And I think from a idealistic standpoint, like that's a good rule. Like civilization should be able to evolve as they naturally will.
Right.
Now, they may fall into the same, I'll call it traps of expanding and technology and blah, 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 but then it's their choice versus it being imposed on them from a colonization standpoint.
Right.
And I mean, we've had that talk about like Africa in the past too. Like what would Africa be like without having been colonized by the British Empire or the French or the Spanish or whoever?
I mean, I think they call it motherland for a reason. I don't think that just comes from a black thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the
natural state of humanity.
I think that's the birth of all life. I think that's the mother of
cradle of motherfucking civilization.
Yeah, I think that's where it began, and the only proof that I would have of that is look at how much you've ravaged it over the years, and it's still providing.
Yeah.
No other place has been able to do that.
Yeah.
I think it would take the attention of the world to be able to drain Africa of its resources. Like the world would have to go in at one time. Every country would have to go in and take a piece in order for that to happen. And I think even if that was the case, it would take years before you were able to do so.
I could see that.
So I bet them motherfuckers is astral projected.
There's a reason why they know how to get through the jungle, because they've done it in their sleep a million times.
Now the question is, I doubt it. Nah, I bet it is. Yeah, I bet it is. I was about to say, the question is, do you think there's little duck-off colonies that have never been discovered?
I think that there are islands probably that have never been touched, other than like a long time ago.
Islands make more sense, but
in terms of, it's hard to imagine with just the advent of like satellite and everything. Like, could there be tribes or things living in jungles somewhere? Probably, because there's probably enough coverage from like a thermal perspective with other wildlife.
And then you got to think of places that you can't get to.
Right. I mean, there's parts of Australia that it's funny because we were watching. I don't remember. It's the young kid that kind of modeled his career and his life after Steve Irwin, and they
Not
did.
his son.
What? No, it's not his son.
Okay.
But they go to Australia and like some of the the Aborigine kind of wildlands, and unable to get to by modern vehicles, ground vehicles anyway.
Right.
You have to be helicoptered in, and like there's very few places where you can actually land a helicopter,
right.
etc. Is it possible that there are, natives living in those kind of places? Probably. But again,
I'm sure there are at least 5,000 places like that in Africa.
Yeah.
Where you can't get there other than walk your ass through or fly your ass in.
Drop in kind of deal, yeah.
And I guarantee that those same places are protected by the land as well. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're walking in, you're going to walk through a den to get here. This is where the lions live. And once you get down there, you go down the mountain some, and you're going to find some gorillas that stay there. And then once you get down into the clearing of the valley, go 100 yards in, you'll see...
It's Congo.
Right, you know what I mean? I just feel like... I feel like if anybody could or would be in touch with those kind of roots powers or whatever, it would be there. Or like you said, it would be one of those islands around that area.
Yeah.
Because you got to understand.
I mean, the flip side is the Pacific is huge. I'm sure there are islands that, while maybe they've been mapped from a satellite perspective, they haven't been fully investigated.
Right.
Or...
I mean, it would have to be if the white boy just found the whole tribe that nobody knew about.
Yep.
And tried to bring Jesus to them.
Can we stop? Mind your damn business.
That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. I just don't get it. Like, God bless them.
Well, and I mean, you're saying those kind of areas. I think just as likely, the problem is that there's less chance of this being undiscovered, because it would have been by now. Like Native American tribes, are there ones that left when they saw the white man coming in, and did they go elsewhere? Did they hit the ocean? And
I'm sure, but by now, I doubt that you would be able to make them out like that.
Yeah.
Because I doubt, it doesn't matter if you left or not, you wouldn't have been able to go far enough that wasn't already colonized. Which means you ended up still learning the ways of that man, and you probably integrated your race by now.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I was thinking, like, went west, kept going west, and then when they were pushed basically against the west coast, took to the ocean.
And now they're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Now, if them motherfuckers don't look Indian and Asian, I don't know who does.
Yeah.
That's that mix. It looks like a mixture of Asians and Indians.
Yep. America, Samoa.
Then you got Polynesians and all that. That's how you get all that.
It's true.
But, yeah, even still, and you got to think, even that paradise got taken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the whole reason why I said Africa and why we got there based off the subject that we're on is because it's always been known, and it's wild that it's come from there to even make it here, of how heavily rooted a lot of places are in black magic there.
Yeah.
Now, you want to see some shit that can't be explained, you take your ass to Africa. Remember, I told you about the hyena people. That, like, if you watch, that shit is wild. Like, like that, if that doesn't, if there's not either some supernatural or like ability or some spells going on there, I don't know what's happening, because a level of control they have of these wild animals with nothing. Like, they might have them muzzled for the sake of the people around for the show.
Right.
But they're doing this shit like I gotta find that video and send it to you, because I know you ain't watch it when I sent it the first time.
I mean, you're probably right.
That shit, man, it's just, I feel like if anywhere has the ability to do some off the wall shit, boy, it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Well, again, it's what you focus on. That's why that was my first question. Is it that we have lost the ability, or is it just that we don't hone it throughout our lives? Meaning, if we weren't focused on technology, if we weren't focused on these things, and going back to, you hear a lot more supernatural type stories from younger children.
Right.
Is that just something that we choose not to focus on? And because we don't focus on it when we're young, we don't ever focus on it, because we never build the ability to do so.
I think that is the case, but I think it can be a lot more simple than you think. Like, okay. I think it's as easy to look over something like that as it's easy to overlook your companion's emotions.
Yeah.
You know, like, you get so busy trying to make ends meet and going throughout your day that you miss out on things that are right in front of you in real life, let alone going on around you in a realm
realm that's
right.
not visible.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we're moving at a mile a minute and we're not getting anywhere fast affects your mental health, and that puts you in a position where you're not as open to those things. To
the possibilities.
I think that there's a reason why it's designed the way it's designed, because it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
We're at a level in this world where we could stop in awe, just smell the breeze, and we could afford to keep it running without
further quote unquote progress.
Right. At this point, I feel like the need for you to work a 40, 60 hour week is the need for control. It's not the need for.
I agree, but it's also you're starting to see in not all other countries, but there are countries that are starting to normalize like a 32-hour week or a 30-hour week versus a 40. Like, and you are seeing select companies do it in the U.S.
I feel like even that's a lot, right?
No, I'm not disagreeing.
Because see, the whole story we were sold is that as technology increased, the need for work would decrease.
True.
But
that's late stage capitalism, which is where we're at now.
Right. In fact, the opposite has happened, where
you're having to work more for less in
right.
order to afford said technology.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's by design, because as we stated, it can be done to where everybody would be good.
Yep.
At least off of this stipend, right? If you want more, you get out and you get more.
Right.
And the world would be able to run the same way it is now.
I don't disagree. But so you're talking about like Yang and universal income.
Right, but the issue, right, is then if you have that much more free time, what are you doing with it?
Right, are you being a productive member of society, or are you...
Well, see, that would depend.
Or are you talking about... Because you could look at it an individual...
Could you tap back into where we fought so hard to keep you from?
Right.
Could you reverse the
conditioning,
the path we put you on?
Right.
And then that fucks up everything. Because when you think about it, it starts to make a lot of sense to me when I think of
when you think about activism and all those kind of things, like what... COVID was a perfect storm for that, and the Black Lives Matter movement. It was funny how about 3 months after a lot of that shit went down, shit started opening back up. And they found ways to open shit back up. Because why? Because they wanted people off the streets.
Right.
They wanted people back to work. And to your point, that is a level of control.
Well, see, I'm thinking even deeper, right? Like, especially going back to that Africa statement. Because if it's been that deep ingrained into their history, right? And we were taken from them. And you always hear black, what do you want to call them? Elders, I'll say they don't want you to know who you actually are. You hear that all the time, and it makes you wonder, well, what exactly do you mean by that?
Right.
Because it's not just being black. It's basically saying you have something about you that they're fighting to make sure you don't recognize you have. And it leads me to question, what do you know that we don't know?
Right. Well, I mean,
because it's not just we were all kings and queens. No, they wouldn't fight so hard to cover up so much history for it to just be you were all kings and queens. No, you have to have something about you that they're struggling to make sure you don't recognize.
Well, so this will get into something I think we've talked about before, which is the myth of the first man, right? The first,
have we talked about that?
We have, but it was in the context of something like, what was it? Like Assassin's Creed, right? And we've talked about it more in the concept of like aliens and that kind of thing.
Right.
Like aliens
right.
repopulated the earth, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Let's flip that on the script. What if first man was first man, meaning the first of mankind, and had a certain level of, I don't know, and this will get into language that dictators and those kind of things have polluted. But what if there was such a thing as a quote unquote pure blood human? And if Africa is the cradle of civilization, it would make sense that pure blood human is more likely closer to that source of humanity. And that the further you move away, there's some level of dilution, right? Or like that's the only thing I can think of with language like that.
I get that, right? But that
basically, as we lose skin tone, we lose our abilities. So that means I ain't got shit, bro.
I don't know.
Fucking translucent over here.
Listen, motherfucker, you got the system. So.
That's true. We just managed to build the system.
Right, y'all got the system, so... But the only reason why I don't know that, and there could be truth to it. I mean, I would imagine that to be true. The question just comes down to what did the power of the first man possess? But I would imagine the first man did come from Africa, right?
Yeah.
But what power did he hold? Now, the question then, the reason why I don't really quite follow is because we've been diluted so much by now, even if we knew the truth, doesn't mean that we would have
have access to it. Yeah.
So why would you still fight so hard to cover it up unless you were like, listen, we've done experiments, and in order to dilute these motherfuckers, it got to be 40%, and we haven't gotten there yet. 40% yet. So don't let them know until then. So we got a whole bunch of curly-haired, blue-eyed bastards running around here. Don't tell them no.
Don't let it happen. I mean, yeah.
I would think we're too diluted by now anyway to where it wouldn't matter. You would be able to off the ones that had the power.
Fair.
You feel what I'm saying? There wouldn't be enough of us.
They're outnumbered.
Right, that you would be like, oh, there's one, bang, like the X-Men type shit.
Yep. That's exactly where my head went, was X-Men.
Oh, you're a mutant? Oh, you're an original? Let's get rid of him.
Yep.
Oh, you found a little bit of your powers? Off him next.
There you go.
Hence the CIA. Martin Luther King, Malcolm.
I mean, that's interesting. You bring up folks like that. Like, it's possible that that level of
I think when
magnetism and charisma extends beyond just normal.
You just said it, right? You just said it, because if there's one thing black folks do is they control the culture of the world.
Yes, they do.
Whatever the blacks choose is cool in China, is cool in Russia, is cool wherever the case may be. So if as a whole you have that sort of pull on something, let's just keep it to fashion.
Right.
Let's just keep it to fashion and music and sports. Anything outside of that, dead that shit real quick. Bill Cosby tries to buy NBC, he's raping hoes. Because that's a line of communication that it expands.
Well, no,
worldwide.
Because it's when you
and when
you control the
airwaves,
media,
right.
the media channel,
right.
Not just what gets put on TV,
right?
Not just the content, but the channel. Yeah.
Listen, ain't that some shit? We done went to supernatural to conspiracy. I'll do that. I'll do that if you need. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't consider shit like that to be conspiracy. I know it to be true. The question is why.
Right.
That's the question, why. And the more I ask...
Because it's all about control. It's all about systems of control. That's all it's ever been about.
But
that was the reason why you had wealthy landowners and, like, sharecroppers. Or you had wealthy landowners and plebes in Europe. Like, that's always been the method, is control.
But I think it's beyond that, right? Because it's almost like you've opened up the gates to the world to a race, right? Like, you got motherfuckers in what's the name right now being enslaved, and nobody has anything to say or do about it.
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't matter where in the world it takes place, this is okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense to me, right? The only way that makes sense is if you motherfuckers are hiding something.
Right. If
there's a reason why this is the case.
Why this one's okay.
Right. And the reason it has to be bigger than they ruled before us. Right?
Yeah. Because enough of that history has been lost.
Right. We don't know anything about our history. Like, you've already won, and to continue to apply pressure is like, oh, no, there's something else here.
Yeah.
What is it? I can't put my finger on it, but there's something else here. And I feel like, I don't know.
I feel like we've had a bit of this conversation before. And so
have we?
I'm trying to look something up real quick.
It's just odd to me, especially, like, you see how everything's going, like, in recent, and it's almost to the point that motherfuckers don't have to hide that they don't follow the rules anymore.
Yeah. This is going to be a site that doesn't let me do it. No, I think what we brought up was, like, empires, and I think we specifically talked about Egypt and how the Egyptian empire fell to... Really, it's not clear.
Is that right?
Yeah. Like, it just kind of died off. There wasn't, like, some major event.
Like an overthrow.
Right. I don't know. Sorry, I got sidetracked there.
No, I don't think that's sidetrack at all. But you wouldn't hand over your reign either.
No. More subtle than that.
You said more subtle than that.
I mean, that's kind of why, the whole the fall of Rome was more subtle too.
What do you mean?
It was a slow collapse.
Okay.
There wasn't like a straight overthrow. It hit late stage, whatever it was in, and it collapsed. And so the question is, did Africa go through something similar that history is erased, or were they just straight up overthrown?
I think it would have to be an overthrow, right?
Which is why there's no history about
Right, it would have to be an overthrow for the simple fact that, first and foremost, you stayed.
Yeah.
Right? You stayed in your little pockets in South Africa. Secondly, I don't think an empire could subtly collapse in a place like that.
Well, but that's the whole thing. Was Africa ever an empire? Was there ever an African empire? Or was it always tribal in nature? And that's actually why it was able to survive. And why it still survives today in a lot of regards.
What do you mean? Explain.
So meaning if there was never like a centralized... Is that why Africa had to be like kind of piecemealed? Was because there wasn't like a central government or anything to overthrow.
Well, see, that's what I think. That's what I think is why they do a lot to hide the history.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the history that we do know is that there were a lot of British troops that fell to African tribes, even with your guns coming in there.
Right.
So...
But did there have to be, but was that just because there was such a mismatch? Or was there coordination? Or maybe it wasn't even a centralized government, but it was a network of, oh, these white folks is coming. You help me out, I'll help you out kind of deal.
That would be the case. I'm just thinking more so along the lines of like a video game, right?
Waves.
Right, like you beat the first level to make it to the coast and up through.
Right.
But then as you go,
what you didn't know was the ones on the coast were the ones that had already been pushed out of Central.
Right, and you have to fight.
It gets harder as you get more inland.
Which is why I feel like you never were able to run anyone out. Right. Because it's like you ran into a lot of tribes that were like, no, we're too big and we got too much going on. You're not going to win here.
Right.
Guns or not. You gotta think, these motherfuckers had lions. Like, they had control of lions at one point. And you think that they were just having dudes come in there and take over their spot?
Right.
If that was the case, it would have been conquered by now.
Yeah.
And you still couldn't conquer it even when you separated it and divvied it up into pieces. It still hasn't been conquered. Well,
again, because here's my simple explanation. So... when Africa was left to Africa, they naturally pushed the weak towards the edges and said, nah, y'all can't hang here in the middle. Right. When the British came in and they started divvying things up, some of them were like, y'all can come back. Y'all can come back. Right. From the outskirts. And yeah, they basically colonized, I'm not going to say empty land, but land that like...
wasn't in use.
It was either people that sold out,
right,
or it wasn't in use, and the folks that like otherwise moved or transitioned back towards the inland,
right,
further
right.
inland.
Yeah, because when you think about all of it, like even like the. Yeah, it seems like all the major like battles, wars, shit you heard about were on the outsides.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think it's possible. I mean, I think it's possible, of course, but I don't think it's something that, because you're fighting more than man. You're fighting nature. And I'm not even talking about the animals in nature, but the nature itself. Like the trees, the jungle will take over something.
Yeah. No doubt.
if you leave that spot for a month, it's not going to look the same way when you
get
come back.
Well, I mean, we've talked about that a little bit on the podcast in general, that if humankind were to disappear from the earth,
right,
you wouldn't know humankind was here after 10, 20 years.
Right.
It's probably closer to 100, but still, like,
right.
Signs of civilization would be overgrown in the course of decades, not centuries.
Right. Is that the case, though? Because I was watching a video, I think it was on YouTube, the biggest abandoned cities in the country.
Okay.
And some of them are 100 years old and they still stand.
Well, maybe it's not true for every place on Earth.
Right.
But generally speaking, I think.
I mean, it would definitely be the case in Africa.
But I mean, even looking at, like, shit. The concrete on the sidewalk was replaced 5 years ago, 10 years ago. There's already grass growing up and cracking through it. Like, and concrete is the majority of stuff. Like, yeah, okay, you're going to have steel beams and those kind of things that you might still see, but vines and those kind of things would overgrow and eventually work its way through.
Yeah, I think, but I don't know. I don't know if it will.
I don't know that it's disintegrate. What I mean is overgrow that, like, from a cursory view, you wouldn't see it.
Right.
You would have to do some digging, basically, or clearing, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I think that makes you wonder how. Because one thing that video did open my eyes to is that how common it was.
For, like, whole towns to be abandoned.
Right. Like, it was in, like, places like, of course, you know, like, Detroit's and shit, and, like...
Middle America,
yeah,
where it used to be, like, a oil field or something. And
it's just, like, a whole town that's just nothing, just empty. No windows, just rock. Just building sitting there. And it's like, if we have... Once again, goes back to if we have places like that here, then that leads me to believe that there are tribes that haven't been contacted a lot more other places that we don't.
Right. Like, if we can't even keep tabs on our own shit.
Right. In our country.
Right.
Then how do we know that they're, like, in other countries there aren't places that people are, like, there's duck-offs everywhere, right? There's duck-off, you can find a duck-off anywhere.
Yeah.
That used to be what we did all the time as kids, is walk through the woods until we found an opening and make a little setup, you know, put some logs up to where we sit down and chill, and, you know, like, you can find places like that everywhere. So if you can find places like that, even on a small scale as a child wandering through the woods, I can only imagine. Like, this is off of a residential.
Right. Right.
And there's so many other places that
where they aren't
been commercialized yet.
That's a good word, yeah.
That you gotta know that there's places you haven't been to.
Rita chiming in with his old History Channel show called Life After People. So I have to look that one up.
Life After People?
Uh-huh. And then Malcolm chiming in. What up, Malcolm?
Life After People sounds like that would be an interesting watch.
Yeah. Global extinction, man. Round 1 was COVID. Round 2 is COVID 2. Or COVID 22 or 23 or 2030 or whatever.
Because I'm going to learn my African powers.
Is that what you're going to focus on?
Yeah. And if I get...
When are you going to do that?
That's what nobody knows. I've been in the lab. Now, when y'all see me come out here and bifurcate like some cells and create a whole nother myself, you're going to know something. They're going to be like, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
You're going to see 12 of me just start popping up. And they're going to say, oh, he reached the level.
I think one's enough.
Look, better watch out when I get to my powers. That motherfucker been taking that spice.
See, that I can support.
Listen.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you. I don't know. Ramblings of a lost man.
Well, dude, we're at an hour 40. This has been a good conversation. I don't know. You got anything else you want to talk about tonight? Or do you want to call it an early one?
Trying to think. Anything else on my mind that I can say?
Allegedly.
I think I'm going to just start talking crazy so nobody knows what's real and what's fake. I just start making up some outlandish stories and throwing some real ones in the mix.
So that you can't tell which is which.
Right.
It's called target dilution.
That's what I'm about to start. I'm about to start diluting some targets, is all I know.
I talk about that in meetings that I run. I invite certain people just so that they can't pick on one person throughout the whole meeting. You've got to be able to dilute the target field.
Right.
Strength in numbers and such. Who can I bring to this meeting that is going to have to answer questions just as much as I will?
Oh, is that right?
Usually it's not somebody under me. Usually it's a peer.
Listen.
Or even better, somebody that outranks me.
Let me find out you summoning the people above you to meetings.
Shit, dude, I do. That's how I've made a career. I keep pretending like I'm at a higher level than I am and let them work it out, and I'm just there. And then eventually they're like, shit, he's been involved in some conversations that we shouldn't have had around somebody at that level.
Listen.
I guess we got to promote him.
Fuck the black folks' power. I need the white folks' power. What the fuck?
Shit.
Man.
I mean, it is what it is.
I need that Rittenhouse.
Too soon. Too soon.
That Rittenhouse power, baby. Where they sell that at?
Well, yeah. I got nothing. We talked about that already.
Listen, that's interesting. That's an inadvert. So when they get to the point of nope.
He said nope.
Nope.
I do have.
I thought about it.
I do have one that will be outlandish for us, but it'll take us back to some old conversations.
What?
So there was an article on Mashable that popped up today, and it's online porn is poised to change forever.
How so?
Because basically credit card companies are putting the crackdown on whether or not they will allow transactions from or to pornography websites.
So what are they going to do? Start like a streaming service?
I don't know, but what they're basically saying is things like Pornhub, OnlyFans, that kind of shit, unless they can submit paperwork that basically shows like ID verification, which I agree with. Obviously, people got to be.
I agree with that.
It got to be to a certain level. But what's basically happening is they're putting up
before. Well, I know they did.
They do to some level, shit, right. But that's the whole point, is that there's so much amateur porn out there now that there's no way that you can expect companies who host these platforms to do all the paperwork. And what they're saying is it's the creators who are having trouble getting the paperwork done.
Suck a dick. Suck a dick.
Well, that's what I go to Pornhub to see is someone sucking a dick.
Well, suck a figurative one, because what I'm tripped out about is you need me to take front and back pictures of my ID to go in FanDuel, but you can't have somebody do that to upload videos to Pornhub?
So I think it goes deeper than that, but yes, that's kind of the genesis of it. And I'm trying to see if I can see what other... There was like 4 or 5 different forms that people have to be able to do.
What? You just gotta know they're of age, right?
Where it is getting to is a lot of porn producers, especially like amateur porn producers, don't necessarily want their full IDs to be out on the web. Meaning like data breaches, those kind of things.
We don't have to have them.
Understood, but they're still having to upload those to basically anybody that's hosting their content. And where they're saying that gets difficult is a lot of amateur producers operate under, or a number of amateur content providers operate under a different name than their given name.
How does that make a difference, though? I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time understanding the issue.
What the issue is? That's what I'm trying to. That's where I'm trying to like scroll down to see.
It sounds to me like they're trying to continue making money off of underage videos.
I mean, maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's
it has to be. I don't see any because it's.
Oh, this is what it is. They're basically saying that in order to upload content, it has to go through a formal approval process. So that's basically putting the burden on the channel to hire more people to review more content. Versus right now, it's amateur and it just gets uploaded, right? But I agree with you. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Okay.
And MasterCard has to approve it?
So wait though, because I'm... So, easy fix. You have YouTube, and you have your YouTube Creators app. You create your profile and upload your ID. You upload the video under your ID with whoever else's ID that's in the video with you.
I agree.
They check, click OK.
Watch the video to make sure they're the only two in there.
I don't get it. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
what this is going to lead to, Cliff, is nothing but 30-second clips, because nobody is going to go through and approve the 20-minute video that I want to watch.
You know what? I treat my porn like I treat my podcast too. If it's under a certain amount of time, I don't watch it. I don't waste my time. I can't watch it.
I'm with you. But now they have to go through and review it, basically to make sure. I don't know. Is it to make sure that someone else doesn't pop up in the video?
So it sounds like Pornhub hiring.
I think you and I should go run their strategic product development.
Let's come up with a business model. Because I'll sit down for 10 hours a day.
And just
watch. All I gotta do is watch a video to make sure that faces match the ID.
What they're saying is, what it's going to do is hurt fetish porn the most. It's going to hurt the kinky shit where people are like costumed, masked, all that kind of stuff, because there's no way to validate the actor.
Upload an ID with your fucking zipper
zipper hood on.
So we can make sure it matches the same, the lips and the eyes.
you gotta get to that retina scan same technology first.
Nasal indentation. But then at that point, for real, you could do it like the rappers do that got felonies. This is a prop. This is a prop gun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know who's in that latex bodysuit.
True. I'm trying to see. Oh, and of course, this is all the argument around this is all that it's limiting free speech.
It's limiting free. How is it limiting free speech?
Because pornography in general,
I would say,
has always been an indicator of like what they're going to go
like
after
the art
in terms
of interpretation,
right.
but not free speech. And then at what cost? You know what I mean? Like, I love porn, but I definitely give it up to guarantee there's no underage videos.
No, I agree with you on that.
Like, fuck the free speech.
Especially at this point in my life. Right. Last year, I don't know if I would have agreed with you.
Fuck the free speech. Let's make sure the kids are okay.
I hear you.
Damn, porn. Like, what? I don't get it. Like, is that why they haven't put up any new videos?
That was actually what I was waiting for, was for you to be like, oh shit, that's why I don't see anything new anymore.
That's why I don't watch porn. I'd be like, oh, it's the same old shit. I didn't see this and this one. I got a very specific type.
Why do they keep showing me the same 7 videos?
You're right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll go back to those eventually. But
Maybe after
I need a break for a minute.
A few months and just ain't seen nothing new. Fucking, it's all beggars can't be choosy.
Oh goodness!
Damn, that's crazy.
No more kinky shit, man. Damn.
I wasn't real kink kid anyway.
That doesn't, yeah. That tracks.
Yeah, no. I don't want to. What's the point, though, right? What's the point of your black bodysuit with your ponytail and your mouth out? Like.
I mean, there are people with latex fetishes. It's the act itself. It's not the.
What do you mean, like
the body or the?
Like the
shit that you don't like.
Of wearing latex is the arousal.
Yeah, that's one, yeah.
What is it, like a sensory thing,
generally, yeah.
Cause like.
Not one of mine. Not one of mine.
I couldn't imagine anything happen, but you get sweaty.
Yeah, no shit.
Because latex isn't like something.
It's not breathable.
It's not even like cotton, like to where there's a feel on your skin. It's just hot.
Yeah.
It's just something stuck to me.
Well, but I think that's you gotta. Well, latex fetishes aren't generally about the person who's wearing the latex. It's the person who's not wearing the latex.
Right.
And it's usually there's some other sort of lubrication involved, like oil or something.
Right, but isn't that better with, like, there's nothing better.
Or maybe they just like the sound of that, like, sticky.
You can get that so many other ways. But, like, if you got, like, the oil, like, the glide fetish, there's nothing better than laying a tarp down below your sheets.
I hear you.
And going through a bottle of baby oil.
Yeah.
Like,
it's funny. I had somebody send me something earlier today that just it resonated with this conversation. You know the sex is good when it sounds like running in flip-flops.
Well, that depends. That depends, because you can't keep that same flip-flop stroke up. You gotta mix it up.
That's true. Variety is the spice of life.
And then be consistent when she clinches.
That's true. That's true. You can't change it up.
Can't switch it up when she starts to clinch.
That's true.
You keep the same pace. That's when the flip-flops come in.
Right. That's when the flip-flops happen.
And you better not slow down to a slow jog.
Run faster. Well, that was my attempt to add another 15, 20 minutes to the show.
Well, I'll take it. I'll take it. I got nothing.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and wrap it up. You got anything for the people?
Love everybody. Practice your powers.
And make sure you're uploading those IDs to the porn sites.
God damn, man. Today's newspaper.
Kyle Rittenhouse, supernatural abilities, and the fuck's happening in porn.
Man, goodness gracious, porn. I'm gonna need y'all to step it up. Step it up. Step up the vetting process, you.
I mean, if I can get an ID or a credit card online, you should be able to make sure that your content gets seen.
Listen. I mean, but I guess the question would come down to how many people are really subscribing.
Yeah.
And how many people just come for the highlights.
True.
Because I'm a highlight kind of guy.
Right.
I'm not paying you
for shit.
Anything. So if that's the case, if the bulk of the people are like me, then yeah, it's not worth it.
Fair.
You know, now if everybody was subscribed, then yeah, it would be worth it. But if everybody's not subscribed, then I can understand why they're like, well, we'll cut down on the videos, I guess.
True. I don't know how they're making money anyways.
Right, to be honest.
Other than serving up the ads.
Listen.
If I see the ad about play a video game one more time.
Right.
Play a free porn game that'll make you come in 30 seconds.
Right, and I'll be like, God damn, what kind of game is that?
Does it suck my dick?
I can't do that. I can't make me come in that amount of time. Let me play this game. It's hard to play a game with your hand on your dick.
I'm just supposed to use the one thumb, like.
Right, what kind of game is this? You gotta play it like piano notes. Kind of shit. That's what it's gonna be. That's what porn's gonna be for long. It's gonna be all VR.
No shit.
Or not VR. Pixar shit. You know what I mean? Whatever that little shit is. CGI.
That's what you're looking for.
I said VR.
I mean, it should be VR, but give me the VR that hooks up to the fleshlight. Let's go.
I got those now. I see that. I said, what the fuck is going on? Motherfuckers got a whole arcade system. They got a whole...
Give me the full body haptic suit.
Man, listen, this shit in this world, boy, we gonna be like, what's the name before long? What was that movie where they was fucking with just
Ready Player One? Oh, that happened in what? Demolition Man?
I wanted to do the
Demolition Man.
Oh, is that what? Yeah. That's how we gonna be for long. It's gonna be like, damn.
Fluid transfer? Ew. That would be Demolition Man.
Well. That shit crazy, man. What the fuck is the point if we're not transferring fluids? Fluids are supposed to be transferred.
That's the intent. That's the animalistic nature.
I don't get
They're
it.
trying to keep us from that, too. It's fucking control, man.
Fucking Pornhub fucking Trojans. I'm sorry, use condoms.
And with all of that, do us a favor, like, share, subscribe. Maybe not to the 154 mark of this video, but you know, the beginning.
Sorry, we'll upload our IDs.
That's true. We'll do that tonight. And with all of that, peace out, fools. We appreciate you.